Ba-ba-ba-bam! The war! The Revolutionary War!
The British are coming!
Let's do this. Hello, I'm Craig Anstead, and today we're gonna talk about George Washington crossing the Delaware River on Christmas Day. So it's the end of the year 1776. The Continental Army is camped out on the shores of the Delaware River in Pennsylvania. George Washington is like, the Continental Army is f***ed. It seems hopeless. Across the river in Trenton, New Jersey is the Hessians. The Hessians are German mercenary soldiers for the British Empire. And they're like, hey man, we're cool. And we making the money. On December 23rd, Washington brings General Hugh Mercer, who's a Scottish general, and Captain Alexander Hamilton. George Washington's like, look, we have to attack the British on Christmas night. They're gonna be drunk, they're gonna be burping, eating shit. That's the night that the least expected. So we have to move, we gotta go. It's a surprise attack. So Mercer's like, he's a Scottish guy. He's like, we don't have munitions. I don't even know how to f***ing do it.
Think about Sean Connery.
Off. Mercer's like, well, we can't do this now. We don't have the provisions. And Alexander Hamilton's point of view is, hey, that's exactly why we need to attack, because the Hessians have infinite musicians. They have infinite munitions, and we can capture all that. So, all right, well, this is what's going down. We got 5,000 troops. We're gonna cross the river. It's like 300 yards wide.
You all right?
Yeah, we have to go full force and attack, which is fighting against the British with their hired Hessian German army shit. So the Germans, shit. All right, so it's a German Christmas, December 25th, 1776. They're all celebrating. Hey, it's celebration. Let's have sausages and sauerkraut. They're being festive, they're drinking eggnog. That's exactly what the Germans were doing. Back to the three platoons. They all set sail across the Delaware River. Mercer's, Washington, Hamilton. Mercer, it's too much snow, too much ice. We have to back off. Jesus told me so. So they back off. Hamilton's balls to the wall. We gotta get across there, man. We gotta help Hamilton. Or we gotta help Washington. Can't do it, man. It's too much snow, too much ice, it's too cold. Washington says, we're getting across this river. Dude, everyone knows this story from the painting. The painting is like a pretty picture of this. It was a lot more grimy and dirty than the painting. It's the winds, man, blowing 60, 70 miles an hour. Little tiny icebergs smashing up against these primitive boats that are made out of cheap pine wood that's been nailed together with garbage nails. Just horrible. Some of the soldiers have towels on their feet. They don't have shoes. And they're thinking, hey, man, this is Christmas. I should be eating gingerbread, man. Washington's like, hey, man, this is the birth of our nation. This is the birth of our nation. I mean, it really is. Hey, let me have a drink. They roll up upon the shore, Trenton, New Jersey. George Washington looks at the sun and he's like, hey, shit, we're late. Let's do this. Washington and his soldiers march into the fort of Trenton and sure as shit catch the entire Hessian military off guard. They start attacking the Hessians. Hey, Merry Christmas, mother. They're not met with much resistance. They're like, well, wait, we need to fight, but we're kind of drunk and we're kind of up, like mistletoe and jingle bells. So by the time the battle was over, Washington had captured over 1,000 Hessians and only 4 Continental Army troops had died. And then they look, there's all these supplies. And then in the corner, there's a pile of rum. They all start pounding rum, getting drunk. So when they took these Hessian soldiers back across the river after capturing them, a lot of them were drunk, just putting them on boats. And people are like falling off, shit-faced, trying to get it. It's just fun. So this is the first major victory for George Washington and his Continental Army. And it made an announcement to the entire world that, hey, this Continental Army is a force to be reckoned with. You can't underestimate that, man.
Hi. This story will be about Wilhelm Friedrich. I'm going to tell you a story about General von Stueben. It's the American Revolution. Washington troops are freezing to death. They said, Washington, you don't know what you're doing. Everybody around us is dying. They don't have anything to eat. They are freezing cold. What are you going to do? Washington says, I'm going to talk to my buddy, Ben Franklin. Because I don't even know about it. Franklin was just partying in fairs. It's very weird. Franklin learns of this Prussian war general, von Stueben. He was trained by the King of Prussia. Ben Franklin says, hey, von Stueben, why don't you come to California? No. Ben Franklin says, why don't you come to America and fight for us? And von Steuben's like, look, I already got kicked out of Prussia for being gay. I'm okay here in Paris. It's okay to be gay in Paris. And Paris is like, not okay to be gay in Paris. We're about to kick you out. And von Steuben says, check, please. So von Steuben shows up with cooks and butlers. He's dressed to the nines. He's wearing furs. He's got a dog. And he says, hey, I'm von Stueben. He looks at all of General Washington's soldiers and he says, look at this group of dogs. They are dying, they're starving, they have no ammunition, no love. The soldiers are like, I don't like this guy. George Washington says, no, give him a chance, give him a chance, give him a chance. And von Steuben's like, I am gonna whip you guys into shape. New coach is in town. Von Stueben starts training the soldiers. Running them through the ranks, he's stretching them through the stretchers. He's yelling at them in Prussian. And they go, what's he saying? Washington is like, oh boy. The guy doesn't even speak English, so he says, blah, 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 blah. And they hear, blah, 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 blah. What are we gonna do? But guess what? A young captain shows up, Ben Walker. He says, I can understand all the blah, blah, blahs. I speak Prussian, and I can help the Americans understand them. Von Steuben turns over his shoulder and sees the most handsome American he's seen so far. Steuben is into blondes. This guy is platinum blonde. Beautiful cheekbones, puffy lips. Benjamin Walker says, I will be your guide. And they become buds. Buds. They have this training montage. So Benjamin Walker ends up being exactly what they needed. He helps them with the troops. Von Steuben starts teaching them things. He's like, these are knives. You can use it to stab people. And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. Teach them how to clean their teeth. Teach them how to clean their bodies so they don't get disease. People are like, we're just trying to win a war, man. And he's like, this is how you win a war. They start training harder. And then he says, Ben Walker, yell at them in English. And that guy says, more squats, come on. He literally turned the army into butter.
Do you know any drinking games?
Oh, yeah.
I was just thinking, is there any way we could take this shot? Oh, what's that?
You guys drink?
Oh, wait.
So, is the Battle of Springtime? No. It's Battle Hill? No. It's the Battle of Barren Hill. These terrified kids are just crushing it. As troops start beating battle after battle, using the tactics of von Stueben to use their bayonets. They had all clean teeth, and they won the war. Washington said, von Stueben, you live with Washington. I'm sorry.
Ben Walker.
Washington said, I'm gonna give you a house to live in. And I want you to live with that guy, that guy. I will grant you the most beautiful love ever. So the army used von Steuben's tactics for 100 years. They called it the Blue Book. That's why we're here safe. So von Steuben saved the world.
Hello. Today we are going to talk about Benedict Arnold. Benedict Arnold was a general in the American Revolution. He's a hero of Saratoga, but the Continental Congress promoted 5 other generals and not Benedict Arnold. Benedict Arnold was very bummed out by that. So he goes to Philadelphia. There's a young woman, Peggy Stueben, who is the it girl of Philadelphia. Peggy was like, I'm hilarious, I'm British, and I'm the most beautiful person that anyone's ever seen. She has a suitor named John Andre, but Benedict sees her and just falls crazy in love with her and tells her, it's better with you. This is not an exact quote. It's better, you were so great. I love you so much, you're so great. So she marries Benedict Arnold, who I believe she also loved. Oh God.
What?
I just realized that I was being filmed.
Oh my God.
So anyway, Peggy says, sweetheart, you deserve to be backed by the government that you belong to. You know, the British would appreciate you. They would love you. Also, my family's British. Benedict's like, no, I'm not gonna defect to the British side. That's insane. George Washington is my daddy, kind of. Peggy says, look, I have a friend in the British Army, John Andre. Benedict's like, it's like your ex-boyfriend. Peggy's like, well, I mean, Benedict, if you really want to be with me, be more confident. And Benedict's like, yeah, I am going to betray the United States because I love you, and I'm going to prove to you that I am not jealous. And makes love to his wife. And she's like, I love it, I love being a spy. This is so great because I love drama. And Peggy Stueben, like, what an adventure. She was sheltered, entitled. I have this whole imaginary chorus of women that are like, don't say, but she was a she was bad. Peggy says, you write me letters, I'm going to pass them on to John Andre. So Benedict writes letters, which are really passionate. They're like, Peggy, I love that I get to do it with you, because he knows that John Andre is going to get them. Also, the Continental Army is going to West Point. Also, I love you, and I love you, I love you. So they're passing letters back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And eventually, Benedict tells John Andre, okay, I'm gonna give you the information on how to attack us. I'll tell you everything. Also, I'm going to invite George Washington to my house so you can take them if you want. Like his friend.
Love.
Yeah, sucks so much. So they meet behind American lines, and Benedict takes out all these maps and says, okay, if you're going to attack, you need to attack this way. And they're signed by Benedict Arnold, which I don't understand why he would do that. So John Andre starts headed home. He doesn't get very far before he encounters 3 men. They're like, okay, you have a red coat and you have a British accent. We're going to search you. John Andre's like, ugh. And he has these maps. And they realize that Benedict Arnold has become a traitor. So Benedict says to Peggy, babe, we've been found out. And she's like, you get out of here. Like, I'll deal with it on this end. Meanwhile, George Washington is walking up to their house. George Washington, the head of life. The head of the entire Continental Army is like, oh, I'm gonna have breakfast with Peggy and Benedict, my favorite people in the whole world. He gets these papers that Benedict Arnold betrayed him, and he very famously says, "Whom do we trust now?" I'm too drunk. He goes to the house. Peggy, meanwhile, rips off half of her clothes. She's holding her 6-month-old. Peggy says, "Ugh! You are sent here to kill my baby. Baby killer, you're here to kill my baby." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, you're crazy. You're so no." He's just like, women with their hysteria. She's crazy right now. But she's absolutely, I can say without a doubt that she is innocent. She was brilliant. She was great. She wasn't great. She was bad. Anyway, Benedict Arnold joins the British. He's like, "Hey, I was American 5 minutes ago and now I'm British. Let's do this." And they were like, "No, we don't trust you because you're this traitor. Get out of here." And he is shunned by everyone. And then he was this like limping, sad man. And before he died, he said to Peggy, "Take out my Continental uniform." And she put it on him, and he said, I regret ever wearing any other uniform. And he died. He died in his American uniform. You know what's really funny about being drunk is that you really feel like you're doing all the important things that you needed to do.
Right.
Today we're going to talk about Sybil Ludington. Today we're going to talk about Sybil Ludington, who did the midnight ride that you haven't heard about, but you will, right? So it's early on in the Revolution, and the British are tearing through the colonies. Blah, blah. Sybil Ludington just had her 16th birthday. Her dad, Henry Ludington, is the head of the local militia, fending off the British. So on this particular night, she's tucking in her brothers and sisters, and all of a sudden, there's a knock on the door. This man is at the door. Oh my God, he's so out of breath. The British are burning Danbury, Connecticut. Okay, so Henry Ludington is like, I need to go knock on every door, get our militia, and save our country. Well, here's the thing though. I have to stay here to like rally the troops and make the plan. It's not like you can send an Evite out, so who's gonna do it? I'll do it. Comes a peep from the night. Hey. Blah, blah. I got it. Sybil comes peeping down the night, and her dad's like, she's 16 years old, she's a girl, it's a hard-ass night outside, it's 40 miles. Well, we don't have a better option. So, yeah, we're gonna let her do it. She sets out into the night. So guess what happens? It starts raining. Well, snap. It's raining, it's like windy trails and boulders. She grabs a stick and she's whacking it on all the doors she passes by. She's like, the British are coming. The British are coming. You have to follow me. Come back to the Ludingtons. And if you're not coming, then you're another Go! This is the moment where I'm like, oh, I really am drunk. So she rounds a corner and suddenly this ass jumps out of the bushes. Stop your horse, you know, give me your purse or whatever. She's like, all I have is this stick, so, and just flap. Flaps him in the neck. You know, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, classic flap in the neck.
Yeah. As it came out, it sounded weird, but you know what I mean. She just him up, keeps going, don't have time, have to round up militiamen. She gets to every house on the route, spread out over 40 miles. 400 people follow her back to Henry Ludington's home, and he is like, oh my goodness, you did it. Let's go. Let's go get these ass. Let's make it happen. Damn it. I was doing such a good job. Okay, so here comes Henry Ludington's militia. They beat back the British, and they were like, this is the deal, and there you go, and there you stay, and there you went, and bye, 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 Charlie. So a couple weeks go by. Holy life is back to normal. Ba, 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 ba. There's a knock on the door. And standing at the door is George Washington. And he is like, I'm here to give congratulations to the best effort I've seen ever. Henry Ludington is like, you're welcome, sir. And George Washington's like, stand aside. I'm here to see Sybil Ludington, who did that amazing ride. Sybil from the woodwork comes out. Oh, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I don't know why in that part she had a British accent, but he was like, you are the best. You did it. I can't ask for a better spirit of force from anyone, and huzzah. And that's, yeah, huzzah. 20 miles is what Paul Revere rode, and then double it, and that's what Sybil Ludington did, which is 40 miles. That's the whole thing, period, end of history, and that's the deal. And that's the whole Savannah.
Hello, I'm Paget Brewster, and today we will be discussing Deborah Sampson, the first woman to take a bullet for America.
Cheers.
Okay. In Plimpton, Massachusetts, Deborah Sampson becomes an indentured servant to Jeremiah Thomas. Lucky for her, Jeremiah was a fierce patriot and taught her how to do everything that other girls weren't being taught. And so she grows up to be an incredible badass. So she's thinking, what the am I gonna be? I want adventure. I want to serve my country. So I think I want to fight in the Revolutionary War. So she sews a men's outfit. She's like, I'm gonna make trousers or trouser breeches, and a waistcoat, and a...
What's a waistcoat?
Waistcoat, I think, is a vest coat.
Just a waist.
What?
Just a waist.
You're approaching dad humor, but you're not a dad.
How do you know?
Oh, do you have a baby? Okay, so she sews everything up, cuts her hair off. She also has to take gauze and strap her boobs down.
Was she like, oh my gosh?
What?
Was she like, oh my gosh?
Oh my gosh. Holy sh...
I'm just embracing my fatherhood.
But, so Deborah Sampson looks at this young man and says, my name is Robert Shirtliff. And they accept him, into George Washington's army. Wow. And she develops an incredible reputation. All the other soldiers are saying, holy shit, this Robert Shirtliff, he's a badass. He's right out in front. He's the fastest runner in the army. But at Tarrytown, in the middle of the Revolutionary War, Deborah, is fighting the British. And out of the blue, blammo! She gets shot in the thigh with a musket ball. What? the Deborah Sampson is historically the first woman to take a bullet for America. The other soldiers are like, dude, Bobby Shirtlift, you okay? But she has to keep her identity safe. So she's like, yep, got this, I'm good. You're cool, I'm cool. That voice is hard. Okay. Oh, this is where it gets crazy. She slinks off to the woods like, this. I cannot go to the hospital. I cannot let anyone find out that I'm a woman. So she takes out a penknife, jabs it into her thigh. Oh, shit, gotta dig out this musket ball, digs it out. She's like, well, shit, I can sew. Sews it up and says, America, I care about you so much. Oh, I'm gonna cry. I don't wanna cry.
Let it out. You can cry.
What the f? I'm talking to America! Okay, unfortunately, Deborah gets crazy fever sick. Like, can't, passed out, fever, up. She is hospitalized. The one thing she's been trying to avoid. So Dr. Barnabas Binney is like, okay, here's the soldier, kind of a badass soldier. All right, I'll see what's wrong. Takes off Robert Shirtlift's clothing. What? There's like binding on the chest. Maybe there's something wrong under here. Cuts it open, boobs. And he goes, oh, okay. It's so crazy how it seems so easy when you're sober to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, where was I? Wait, I know! So he takes care of her for 7 months. And she says, thank you for taking care of me. If there's anything I can do to repay your kindness, please let me know. And he says, actually, will you do me a favor and take a letter to my friend, General John Patterson? So she delivers the letter to John Patterson. General says, thank you, young lady. He reads this letter, looks at her and says, Private Robert Shirtlift, are you a woman pretending to be a man to be a soldier? And she says, General, I only lied because I wanted to serve my country. Please don't send me to jail. And he says, young lady, I think what you've done is better and braver and stronger than so many men. And I'm gonna give you an honorable discharge. And then Paul Revere, the superstar of the American Revolution, is like, I'm a big American hero, but I think you're the shit, babe. It's incredible that more than 200 years ago, this woman wanted to make a difference. So she becomes this cross-dressing, bullet-digging badass who fought her balls off. LOL, no pun intended.
Who's the dad joke now?
Ba-ba-ba-bam! The war! The Revolutionary War. Burr and Hamilton start their respective war careers. And Burr has a really distinguished war career, kills a lot of British dudes, has an amazing sort of run. Meanwhile, George Washington asks Hamilton, hey, be my aide-de-camp. Aide-de-camp is like a fancy word for secretary. Nah, I'm good, I wanna fight. I wanna fight because that's how I'm gonna rise up. And Washington's like, come work for me. It's paperwork, sure, but you're gonna be at the center of the action. You're gonna be in with the guy who knows best. And Hamilton does his political calculus and says, okay. So Hamilton writes his letters. Hamilton writes letters to Congress. This whole time, all Hamilton wants is a command. Hamilton's just sort of tugging on his sleeve, being like, can I fight? Can you just give me like a bunch of dudes? And like, I promise I'll be so good at this. And Washington's like, no, just stay aide de camp. But they go through some of the toughest trials of the war together. It's Hamilton and Washington. And then Hamilton finally goes, I quit, I'm out. And Washington, aware of what a sort of gifted but troubled kid Hamilton is, says, all right, you're gonna lead these troops to do this very specific thing in the Battle of Yorktown. Hopefully this is our last battle anyway, but like you will be able to say you led a command. And so Hamilton goes into it like with ridiculous gusto. He's like jumping ahead of everyone, being like, we're at war. Like he's like showboating. Like he's totally showboating. Okay. I'm gonna lean forward.
You're okay?
Oh shit, I'm drunk.
You feel okay?
I'm giggly and there's gaps in my memory.
That's all right.
Already.
Okay, so let's get back.
So Yorktown. We won! Well, now we've got to form a country. They all ask him, hey, come be part of the Constitutional Convention. So we're figuring out how the American system is gonna work. The Constitutional Convention. This is the room where they're deciding what the shape of our government should be. They're hashing it out. And Hamilton speaks for 6 hours. But some of the things he pitched would haunt him the rest of his career. He pitched maybe president for life. Oh, he's secretly a monarchist. Maybe we inherit positions. Bullshit, that's terrible. This guy just wants to bring back the British. Those whispers are from the perspectives of people who don't like him. But anyway, we adopt the system that we adopt, and Hamilton becomes its most ardent defender.